Hello, my name is Adolfo Neto, and I'm here to talk about this text which I have shared on my blog. Does José Valim prefer dynamic typing or static typing? So I was invited uh, with my colleagues from the Elixir in Foco podcast, the podcast about Elixir in Portuguese. We were invited by the organizers of Elixir Brazil 2021 to interview José Valim, the creator of Elixir. If you can watch the video in Portuguese, it's here. Here, I believe we have the direct link to the interview. But I asked a question to Valim that I think it's interesting that his answer is it's useful for anyone in the early Elixir Erlang community. So my question was, do you particularly prefer statically typed or dynamically typed languages? If it were just for taste, I'm not sure this makes any sense in English, but in Portuguese it means, oh, taste is just, it's personal, right? If it were just for taste, not for saying what's better or worse for developers, what would you choose? That was my question. And notice here that in his answer, he didn't actually cover the taste aspect. He he went much deeper. So he told me that me and all the people that were watching Elixir Brazil 2021 that he prefers dynamically typed languages. And why? Well, it was because he agrees with the people that developed Erlang, the creators of Erlang. So he said that when someone asks, I mean, he is referring here to interviews that the Erlang creators have given in the past. Why isn't Erlang statically typed? And some people say that it's because the theory for statically typing everything in Erlang isn't complete yet. So these people here are not the creators of Erlang, of course. He means here other people, people from that's see Erlang and say, oh, it's the because Erlang is a distributed concurrent functional programming language, the theory for statically typing Erlang is not complete yet. So that's the reason, which is true according to Valim, but this is only one of the points. If you think about types, says Valim, by definition, a type system restricts the amount of software you can write. Because if you can't prove that a software is that a program is correct using the type system, then uh, even if the code that you just wrote makes sense, if you can't prove it, the type system won't accept that software you wrote. So you write something and the types are not okay, and so the compiler says, no, you can't run this code. So according to Valim, by definition, the type system ends up restricting the developer. Then people say, oh, it's because we couldn't type everything from Erlang. He's referring again to this part, this sentence. And they, the creators of Erlang, say, no, that's not the reason. Robert Verdin, in particular, says, no, it's just that we thought typing wasn't going to solve the problems we had to solve at the time. So here comes the whole Erlang perspective. Look, there isn't a type system that's going to help you solve problems like, oh, what happens if the distributed systems connection goes down or if something goes down? So here, Valim is referring to Robert Verdin saying that because Erlang it was created for distributed systems, and then typing couldn't help much. So they prefer, no, we are not going to type Erlang. So they said that they create, so Valim again. So they said, the creators of Erlang said that instead of thinking at the typing level, they said, look, we want to have a system that's fault tolerant. And with that whole idea of fault redundancy, I'm not sure. Maybe you see, when people speak live, they sometimes they change words. I'm not sure he meant fault redundancy, because fault redundancy means that there's a fault here and there, but you know that the redundancy Valim means here is that if there's a fault here, then there is a redundant system that's free from that fault that can assume that position. Because I tried to look for fault redundancy on Google, and I didn't find it. Instead of thinking about typing and trying to catch right away all the problems that can exist, which is impossible in complex systems, the creators of Erlang, wanted a system that, when a failure happens, the system manages to correct itself. That's what's done with supervisors, for instance. And this is Valim speaking, I still think this approach in general, from a software point of view, is a more robust approach. Typing can give you that false sense of security that there will be no system errors. But going back a bit, it doesn't mean that I think typing is important. So Valim thinks typing is important. It means that I'm with the Erlang people. He agrees with the Erlang people. If you have to choose one of the two, that is typing or no typing and fault tolerance, I would choose dynamic typing. Yeah, of course, it's not no typing, it's dynamic typing. Either you can choose either static typing or dynamic typing, and dynamic typing allows fault tolerance in Erlang, so he chose dynamic typing. But maybe, and Valins here says that maybe it's best to have both. We don't know yet. So Valim here is saying that he's open if someone finds some statically typed typing system for Erlang and Elixir, maybe it's okay. Perhaps, but in a choice, which was the question you asked me, I asked him about the choice. I prefer the Erlang choice. I prefer dynamic typing with fault tolerance. So here it is a comment by Hussein Morsi. Oh, here is Brian Hunt, who wrote Let It Crash, because this is kind of I don't know how to say this in English. In Portuguese, it would be a lema, a nice phrase that's about Erlang. It's not exactly nice, but it's something that you can say about Erlang. And here is Hussein Morsi, who wrote, Gling is an interesting Bean language, which has that static type system. Maybe Elixir can take some ideas from Gling. Gling is great, but it's still in version, I believe, 0.18. So there's a lot of things to happen in Gling, but that's certainly something that people I know you notice here that Valim is watching what's happening in the Bean community. So who knows what's the future? I'm recording this video in December 2021. Maybe in 2023, for instance, there's going to be a typed Elixir or a typed Erlang, who knows? But I personally, I prefer dynamic typing, even if sometimes you write a program and there's no indication there that there is a mistake, and you run it and there is a mistake, there is an error. So sometimes, of course, static typing could help me, but I prefer dynamic typing. But of course, I'm not a professional programmer, I'm only a professor, but that's my point of view. Okay, see you next video. Bye bye.